Trucks have gotten expensive. I've always had a truck as a secondary vehicle to be both a winter beater and for obviously doing truck stuff. So most of the trucks I've gotten have been on their way out the door already because I'm going to drive them in Wisconsin where we have salt and brine on the roads and they get destroyed either way. With my last truck being on its last legs for the past few years now, I've been saving and searching because I wanted to finally get a truck that was more than halfway decent, something that I can drive safely and not be worried about it rotting out every time I get in it. So what did I do? I bought another beater, but it's different this time, and I'll explain why. So most of my other trucks, the engine, transmission, drivetrain has usually been fine. It's the cab, box, and frame that rot out around it. This truck, I want to try and prevent that. So this truck is a beater, but I want to try to bring it back from being a beater. So this video or video series, whatever I end up doing, is going to be the process on how I did that. And to see at the end of the day if the time and money spent was worth it. First off, I want to show you my current truck so you know where I'm at, and then I will introduce the truck I got, and we will see where it goes from there. This is a 2001 Dodge Dakota Sport. It has the 4.7 liter V8, four-wheel drive, heat and AC work. It all seems great on paper until you see it in person. This is what the Wisconsin roads do to these vehicles. I've lost 3 out of the 4 fender flares. The rockers and doors are almost completely gone. I can't tell if the bed liner is holding the bed or the bed is holding the bed liner anymore. The tailgate technically still works. It just lost its hinges. Technically. Now, obviously, every truck in Wisconsin doesn't look like that, or a truck anywhere that gets snow and salt. The previous owner didn't take care of it, and in turn, excuse you, I didn't take much care of it, and that's what it looks like now. I do want to give a quick shout out to Dodge for offering 2 V8s and a mid-size pickup in the early 2000s. That is impressive. Anyways, here is the truck we're working on now. This is a 2006 Silverado crew cab with the LM7 5.3 liter iron block V8 making 295 horsepower, an M30 4L60E transmission, a NP8 auto track transfer case, and a G80 locking differential with 3.42 gear ratio. I'm the third owner of this vehicle. The original owner put 200,000 miles on it, sold it to my coworker who put the other 92,000 miles on it, and then sold it to me when she found out it needed a head gasket. Hey, it's me again. Now I kind of breezed over that quickly, but the reason I got this truck for so cheap is because it was losing coolant and oil, and somebody told her it needed a head gasket. I didn't really explain that very well in the last part, so just a quick edit. The original owner is a friend of someone I work with, so I had him reach out to him and ask him what's been done to it just to get a little bit of background info. And surprisingly, the engine and transmission have never had internal repairs. That is 292,000 miles on a 4L60 transmission. Now, usually the torque converters will delaminate, or you get a P0894 slipping code, or the sun shells break. That's what they're known for. It's not a very strong transmission from the factory, which is impressive and scary because it could break down right now and I couldn't blame it. So I'm at a point where do I keep driving it until it breaks, or do I preventatively rebuild it or replace it? Also, I know some of these transfer cases, the chain can get slop in it and then it will actually eat itself through the case. It's very common. They have rebuild kits where it has a whole rear end on it, but so far it's not bad. I haven't drained the fluid. I haven't drained any of the fluids on this. I want to do that soon to figure out what kind of condition it's in. The front and rear axles have no noise, which they're not leaking. They don't have noise. So I'm going to call them good because there's no acceleration grinding, no deceleration grinding. The U-joints are good. So really it comes down to this engine needing a head gasket possibly. Next, I'm going to take it into the garage, do an underbody inspection, see anything I might need. Then I want to do a compression check, a coolant pressure check, and then I want to stick an inspection camera down the holes to see if there's any cleaned off pistons, which would be a good indicator of a head gasket going bad. Starting at the back, the frame is rusted but not rotted. I would like to do a rust converter and encapsulator. The hitch was rotted. I took that off already, off camera. That will be replaced. To do that, I had to drop the spare tire. And a common point is for these to seize up. Sure enough, mine was. It had the original tire from 2005, so nobody ever probably dropped this, and who knows when I will drop it. So I'm going to be replacing that. There's 3. Put them on the list. Moving a little bit forward here, you can see the rear brake lines appear to have been replaced at some point with the steels here, and then they use the copper nickel up here, running up past the fuel tank to the ABS module. So I don't think I'll have to replace those. The leaf springs, very rusty, but they're not cracked or broken, so I'm going to leave those for now. I did check the U-joints. They are not loose. They don't look the greatest, but they're not loose, so I'm going to keep those. Moving on to the transfer case, you can see we have some seepage. It looks to be coming out around the encoder motor. Besides that, it's not too bad. No leaking at the output shaft. I will not be draining the fluids today, but I will be sure to put that in a future video so we know what condition it looks like in there. The 4L60 with 292,000 miles. Don't even look at it, it might break. One of the most obvious things is the rockers are completely rotted. It is a cosmetic, but I would definitely like to redo it because there's not a lot of body rust besides this on the vehicle, and it really brings down the looks. Up here's the ABS module, and then we got all of our brake lines coming out of it. It's hard to get up there, but they are pretty badly rusted, and it's to the point where I would rather just replace all of them 100%, except for that rear brake line, just for peace of mind while driving. Who wants a blow brake line while they're driving when we can just fix it now? Taking a peek up front, we can see our trans cooler lines are leaking. I would say maybe a little bit more than seepage, but I would like to replace them. You can't see from here, but the AC belt is bad, very cracked, and I'm sure that tensioner is not in a great of condition, so we're going to go ahead and do both belt and tensioners on there. Moving up a bit further, and you can see our fuel line. One of these is the evap line, and the other is the fuel line. Those are bad to the point I would like to replace them. Oil pan gasket, we'll have to replace that. Sway bar end link has left the chat. There are a few other things I want to do that I didn't get on video, so we'll just add them to the list. I want to do the air filter, spark plugs and wires, valve cover gaskets, rear shocks, and windshield. Now the windshield is probably the lowest thing on the list. It's just a crack going across it if I ever even decide to do it. But it's broke, so we'll put it on there and see what happens. Let's check some compression. Go ahead. Alright. Alright. The compression for all the cylinders is good. It's at or around 180 for all of them, so I'm fine with that. Here are the pictures of the top of the pistons. So all the pistons are pretty carboned up, not much to see except for right here. You can still see the crosshatch marks on the cylinder wall, which is impressive. Anyways, here's another one, and another one, and another one, and the last one. I am so sorry for the vertical video. Here's the coolant pressure check. The heater hose has this fitting in it, and it's leaking onto the exhaust manifold. So you tighten it up, the leak goes away. I'm wondering if that was her so-called head gasket issue. We'll find out in the future, I guess. One last thing I wanted to do for this video to look for the head gasket is drain a little bit of oil out and see if there's any coolant settled in the bottom of the oil. That will also be a good indicator. So here that is. Hey, all right.
Online or at any of our branches.
All right, well, there we have it. I think I'm going to call it for this video. We got a pretty good overview. I'm hopeful that it doesn't need a head gasket at this point. The pistons are all carboned up accurately. There's no coolant in the oil, and we did find an external coolant leak. So I feel like I just sat in this room and talked to you more about the truck than actually showing you stuff on it. And that will change in future videos when I actually start throwing parts and time at it. So I guess I'll see you in the next video out in the garage. I also don't know how to end one of these, so I'm just gonna go. See you next time. Ooh, I'm hot mic'd, aren't I?